As some of you may know, I've played for England several times. But I don't like to go on about it. I mean, back me up here. Now, it's absurd to reduce the Brexit debate to appeals for patriotism. Graeme Le Saux, leader of the House of Commons, said in a TV interview broadcasters should be a bit patriotic. It was a desperate strategy. What she should have done is defend her position, focusing on the issues and not hide behind the flag. Her faux pas, excuse my French, was widely mocked. Hijacking patriotism is a tactic which damages the debate. It implies someone who voted Remain is unpatriotic. That really frustrates me. Brexiteers do not have the monopoly on wanting what's best for all of us. We need to concentrate on the important issues, like the economy and citizens' rights, to make sure we're in the strongest possible position when we leave the EU. That's the patriotic thing to do.
I completely agree with you, Graeme. And actually, you're all so surprised to hear that, aren't you? I actually can't think of a better advertisement for an anti-Tory, anti-Brexit position than Graeme Le Saux's helpful comments, because anybody who is patriotic and believes in our values of free speech, critical thinking, healthy debate, would watch that and think she sounds more like a Soviet than a British politician, you know. So I think she shot herself right in the foot. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the fallout because she's been healthily mocked by the quote-unquote unpatriotic press. Even you, Nick, I bet, were a bit tempted to...
Yeah, got it totally wrong. And I think it's appalling. It's going to be difficult to get a good fight going on this one, Graeme, I sense, because you cannot have prominent politicians telling broadcasters the tone they should take. The whole idea of the fact, as Afua rightly says, that the joy of living in a country such as the United Kingdom is that we have a fairly healthy and robust and rambunctious press that can look at government policy, can rip it apart, as Greg just was, and I was particularly vile about Jeremy Corbyn, he was particularly vile about Theresa May. God bless the British media, that's what we do.
Do you think, I mean, the fact is, obviously there she went in two-footed. I mean, again, we talk about being blatant. I mean, she shouldn't leave a lot to be sort of negotiated on or left to judgment. Do you think, though, there is an underlying sort of agenda that is at play as well, in terms of there's a more subtle approach to whether you're being patriotic or you're not quite with us or against us, and that in a way is just as, if not more, dangerous.
Just look at the election campaign. I mean, it's not the first time we've heard the Brexit gang try and claim a monopoly over patriotism. And I found that part of the election campaign really sinister, the idea that only voting for Theresa May was the right thing for Britain. Well, that's not how we do politics in this country. We accept plurality. We accept that you need a government and you need an opposition. And that's what makes Britain work.
Just to pick up on that point about the election campaign, this is what Theresa May said on a couple of occasions during the election.
They say we're too small and too insignificant, that Britain can't do it, that the British people are not up to the task. In short, they don't believe in Britain. You can't negotiate the right Brexit deal for Britain if you don't believe in Britain.
Greg?
Well, this has happened over the history. I mean, if you run the BBC, you get this all the time. Any time of conflict at the BBC, and right the way back actually to the Second World War, but also certainly at the time of Suez, certainly at the time of the Falklands War, and later Iraq, you get accused of being unpatriotic. I got a wonderful letter from Tony Blair when I was running the BBC, accusing us of being biased. And I wrote back to him and said, and, you know, using all the same stuff, and I wrote back and said, look, you can't be the judge of impartiality. Our duty is to be impartial. I mean, remember Mrs Thatcher in the Falklands War said to the BBC, you should call them our troops and our boys, not the British troops. Now, that's the point about where journalism differs from politics. That's what they do and this is what we do. It's inevitable. It will always happen. But in this case, she's just been silly. She's damaged her own case.
She has, and I think that Emily Maitlis handled it brilliantly. And to me, it just looks like Graeme Le Saux's, taken a page out of Donald Trump's playbook. It's like, what planet are we on? This is 2017. The idea is we have a free press, so I'm sorry.
Afua, do you think we're going to see more of this as things play out and as Brexit really gets gathers traction?
Funny you should ask me that, Graeme, because I've just written a book about Britishness, which I never plug on air.
Plug!
But But I personally, my book is about is that I think we do have a bit of an identity crisis at the moment about what Britishness is, you know. And to me, the whole Brexit debate is that it's two different sides of an argument, both tussling over what does Britain actually mean? Does it mean being separate from Europe? To me, we're a country that's always been outward looking. We've been part of Europe. We've been part of world trade. We've had an empire. You know, we've been multicultural for hundreds and hundreds of years. Our royal family is pan-European. We've had Africans here since Roman times. And I think that we've forgotten a lot of that history, in some cases deliberately, and we've tried to remake ourselves with the help of politicians like Andrea Leadsom into something that, doesn't have historical
He has said on previous pledges pass him, he has said that you're European.
I'm a European.
Not British.
No, I'm British, but I'm also European. I'm English as well.
Patriotic?
No, I'm... Well, there are times when patriotism is used... politically to make a case, and that's what's now happening over Brexit, which I think shows you that they think they're in trouble. Is what I think.
It's a desperate card to play.
Well, when you've just run an election that said we need to get a bigger majority so we can deliver the proper Brexit, and you've got no majority, then you're in trouble. I mean, you know, you look at Mrs May and all these clips, and you think. She is the walking wounded. She's dead and buried. It's just a matter of time. Don't you think, Nick?
She's in enormous trouble, which is why she had to do the deal we just talked about. I'll just move it on. You said that you, as we all know, you once ran the BBC. They're under incredible attack at the moment for their coverage of Glastonbury and putting out tweets how Jeremy Corbyn, how to ace the crowd or something like that. Did they go too far?
I didn't see enough of it to know.
No,
I mean, seriously.
This is Arsene Wenger now.
From where I was standing, I couldn't see.
Can I pick up on that? Because actually, it was Nigel Farage that tweeted about that.
No, it was a Radio 1 tweet.
Yeah,
how to ace the crowd.
There was a Radio 1 tweet, and then Nigel Farage picked up on it.
But if Greg can see, it's a bit unfair.
But there is something interesting that has happened, and that is about what's happening in the Labour Party, what's happening in the youth of this country, that I think I'm not part of, and therefore it's quite difficult to see. There is no doubt. You look at the analysis of the electorate and who voted for what in terms of age in the last election, and the biggest shift was in, I think, 25 to 40, that sort of age group. Right. And what is interesting is it's followed what happened in the referendum. Again, the old and the less educated have voted Tory.
The only argument, perhaps, that I can give you, Graeme, if you would allow, is that in many cases, Remainers are going to be more pro-European than they are pro-British.
That's not true.
You're presenting that as a dichotomy.
That is
not true.
The
whole perspective of someone who sees Britain as part of Europe is that they're not mutually exclusive. To be patriotic and British also involves being part of Europe.
And outward-looking and outward-facing.
But it's fair to say that some Remainers would veer more towards Europe than they would towards the UK.
Yeah, and
which is not supporting what Andrea Leadsom said.
No.
It's just
I disagree
offensive
with that,
and not.
No, I don't think you can disagree with that in the sense that there's always going to be extremes at both ends of the argument, aren't there? There are going to be people that Remain that would put maybe their own business interests, if they're linked into Europe, ahead of the country's interests. So that, in this context, is not patriotic, because you're doing something for yourself ahead of your country in that sense. But I think Afua is absolutely right that it's far more nuanced than that. Younger people have only ever grown up in a European, multicultural, global world. So that, my own children at 15 and 18 cannot believe that we've entered into this sort of route because they can't perceive what life without having those freedoms that they've always grown up with, it would look like. And not that it isn't recoverable or retrievable, but it seems they sort of look at me and go, why would we do this? That's how they see it. That's how young people see it.
It seems like a step back for them.
Absolutely it does. But it's they're patriotic people. They love the things that Britain stands for in terms of all the bits we've discussed around freedom of speech, equality and so forth.
So if that's the case, why would so many people have voted to leave?
Well, that age group didn't. They voted over 70% to Remain, and that's the problem.
And if you heard it again now, a lot more of them will vote after the election. A lot more registered, a lot more would vote. I mean, I like that interesting comment from one Conservative who said, what we've learned from this is never have an election while the universities are still there.
Yeah.
No, but wait for all these... because who could ever believe that the Conservatives wouldn't win Canterbury?
Canterbury, Sheffield, places like that.
But that shows you again the gerrymandering of politics, isn't it? I mean, let's hold it when we can get the most votes. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's not like paying somebody £10 billion.
Greg,
No one
I am
below
going to
40 to
interrupt
vote.
you there. Oh, I'm not even answering that.